2:17 a.m., North Atlantic, 230 nautical miles off the U.S. East Coast. The ocean was calm. Moonlight reflected gently across rolling waves. A cold wind drifted across the empty horizon. Silent, unbroken, ordinary. But beneath those waters, something extraordinary was happening. At a depth of 380 meters, the Russian Yasen-class submarine Kazan moved in total silence. Powered by a nuclear reactor and one of the world's quietest pump jet propulsion systems, it was nearly invisible, even to advanced NATO sonar grids. Inside the control room, the atmosphere was tense but calculated. The captain leaned over the tactical display. A flashing marker showed distance to U.S. territorial waters. They were close, too close. This was no routine patrol. This was a message. 2:21 a.m., the new weapon. In the weapons bay of Kazan sat something the world feared. The 3M-22 Poseidon H-5E Hypersonic Underwater Torpedo, a hybrid experimental system. Part torpedo, part missile, part strategic deterrent. Designed to reach speeds above 400 knots underwater, change depth, mid-flight, evade interception, carry various payload types, including nuclear. A Russian naval officer entered a code into the launch interface. A robotic voice confirmed, "Hypersonic torpedo ready." Crew members stared at the captain, waiting. His order was short, cold, fire. 2:22 a.m., launch. Water buckled. Shockwaves rippled across the ocean floor. The torpedo blasted forward, accelerating almost instantly. Its wake created a supercavitation bubble, allowing it to glide through water faster than a fighter jet in the sky. No sonar on Earth could track something moving that fast. Not in real time. Not yet. Within seconds, it was heading toward international waters bordering the U.S. East Coast. 2:23 a.m., early warning detection. Far away, at an underwater listening station off the Virginia coastline, part of the U.S. integrated undersea surveillance system, a low rumble echoed across sensors. At first, the system struggled to classify the anomaly. Then, the algorithm stabilized. The signature became clear. The operator's jaw tensed. He stood and said a single sentence no one in his role ever wanted to say: "We have a hypersonic submarine launch." 2:24 a.m., Pentagon alert. Secure phones rang. Red lights flashed. Within seconds, the situation reached NORAD, the Pentagon Joint Operations Command Naval Intelligence Headquarters. A general looked at the classified alert screen. Hypersonic signature confirmed. Trajectory unknown. Impact time estimate under 4 minutes. 2:25 a.m., U.S. Naval response. At Naval Station Norfolk, the home of America's Atlantic Fleet, commanders activated Rapid Response Protocol. A coded order was issued. Deploy intercept assets. Track origin. No engagement unless threat confirmed. Nearby, a Virginia-class fast-attack submarine, USS Delaware, immediately received coordinates. Underwater, the crew shifted from routine patrol to combat readiness. 2:26 a.m., the torpedo changes course. The hypersonic torpedo continued its run, but then did something unexpected. It slowed, not dramatically, but intentionally. Then it banked left, adjusting depth and heading in milliseconds. This wasn't just a weapon, it was communicating, showing capability, sending a warning, and then it stopped. Not physically, not abruptly, but digitally. It transmitted a signal, encrypted, repeating, recorded automatically by US sensors. It wasn't Russian naval code, not a threat, not a countdown, just a phrase: proximity exercise complete. 2:27 a.m., silence before the answer. The torpedo then altered course again, accelerating away from US waters at full hypersonic speed. In seconds, it vanished from tracking, like it was never there, but it was, and the message was received. 2:28 a.m., U.S. decision point. In Washington, senior defense officials watched satellite data, sonar overlays, and intelligence streams. One advisor finally said what everyone was thinking. That wasn't an attack, it was a demonstration. A dangerous one, a deliberate one, a carefully calculated reminder of capability, positioned near American shores. The last recorded fragment showed the Russian submarine turning east, leaving the area silently. But before it was gone, a final encrypted acoustic transmission was intercepted. Next time, we wait for your response. 2:30 a.m., broadcast to Moscow. In the Kremlin's Naval Command Center, confirmation arrived. Mission completed. Western response measured. Strategic pressure achieved. A Russian analyst typed the final classification tag, outcome, successful signaling operation. But the last words spoken in the room didn't match the confidence on the report. A senior admiral leaned forward and whispered, "The Americans will not ignore this. They will answer." 2:37 a.m. USS Delaware, North Atlantic. The U.S. fast attack submarine. USS Delaware accelerated to intercept depth. Its sonar systems swept the area, wide beams first, then narrow beams, trying to reacquire the Russian torpedo signature or the submarine that launched it. Nothing. The ocean was quiet again, almost too quiet. Inside the control room, the crew knew the truth. The Russians wanted to be seen before vanishing. They wanted the world to feel how close the danger truly was. 2:41 a.m. Pentagon Situation Room. By now, senior military advisors and intelligence analysts were seated around a secured table. Monitors displayed the torpedo's full trajectory, hypersonic speed spikes, depth changes, telemetry anomalies. A single phrase repeated on one of the screens, weapons test or strategic signaling. The Secretary of Defense leaned forward. "We need to know if their weapon can penetrate missile defense systems." A naval analyst responded, "It didn't hit anything, but it reached territory where nothing should." The room fell silent. That alone was enough. 2:48 a.m. International ripple. Within minutes, Allied commands were alerted. NATO Maritime Surveillance Headquarters in Northwood, UK Royal Navy Command at Portsmouth, Canada's Atlantic Command Center, NORAD watch stations. No one issued public statements, but behind closed doors, the tone shifted from observation to alarm. Russia had just demonstrated a hypersonic underwater weapon capable of approaching U.S. coastal defense zones without interception and without warning. That changed the balance. 2:53 a.m. Russia sends another message. A coded Russian naval broadcast, visible only to those with military interception capabilities, pinged across the Atlantic. It contained the Russian submarine's ID, a timestamp coordinates, and one chilling line, "We do not hide, we remind." Nothing more. No threats, no excuses, just confidence. 3:11 a.m. USS Delaware finally finds something. Sonar detected a faint return, not the Russian Yasen-class sub, but something else. Debris, microfractured ocean water, compressed vapor pockets, signs of supercavitation wake residue, meaning the torpedo had passed even closer to U.S. waters than earlier believed, just 92 nautical miles offshore, closer than any enemy weapon had reached in decades. The Delaware relayed the findings. Headquarters confirmed, closest hypersonic underwater intrusion ever recorded. 3:26 a.m. White House briefing. A secure line connected the Pentagon to the Oval Office. After reviewing the telemetry and intelligence analysis, the president asked only one question: was this a warning or preparation? The answer wasn't clear, but the senior naval strategist gave the most honest assessment. "Sir, nations don't test weapons this close unless they want to see how we react." 3:39 a.m. Countermeasure authorization. A classified directive was issued. Operation Silent Tide, Phase 1 activated. Within minutes, orders rippled through the Atlantic Fleet. 3 U.S. submarines were redeployed. USS South Dakota, USS New Mexico, USS Colorado, all fast attack, all nuclear-powered, all equipped with submarine-launched drones and anti-hypersonic tracking systems. Their mission, not to fire, not to pursue, but to shadow the invisible border Russia just pushed against. 4:02 a.m. Russian submarine response. Far across the ocean, the Russian submarine Kazan received confirmation that U.S. forces were repositioning. Inside the submarine control room, an encrypted Russian naval message flashed on screen. Phase 1 confirmed. Proceed to shadow. This wasn't a random exercise. It was the beginning of a strategic chess match. One move, one counter move. Silent but deadly. 4:17 m. Global reaction begins. By dawn, select global intelligence communities had been briefed, and the conclusion was unanimous. Russia had tested more than a weapon. It tested U.S. response time, tracking capability, public silence discipline, naval readiness, and political restraint, and they got their answer. 4:43 a.m. A final signal. Before disappearing fully from U.S. sonar range, the submarine Kazan transmitted one final encrypted acoustic pulse. Short, calm, calculated. Its translation: next demonstration will not be empty. Not threatening, not loud, but intentional. A reminder that the silence of submarines is never peace. It is the pause before the next move. The torpedo didn't strike. The submarine didn't attack. No vessel was damaged. No shots were exchanged. But something far more dangerous happened. A line was crossed, quietly, deliberately, and with absolute precision. Now both nations stare at the same question. What happens when the next test isn't a warning, but the beginning of war?